just a child that's got his own.
I've been loved and nurtured by a lot of people.
I was sort of like the apple of my father's eye. He was so happy to have a girl, and they were happy to have
I'm the oldest of 9 children. And my parents, despite the fact that they were very poor, it was no doubt about how much they loved us.
We did a lot of laughing. We did a lot of sharing. It wasn't that we had a lot of money. It wasn't that we had a lot of places to go. It was just that we did good things, and we were good kids, and we did the right thing.
The mothers down the street were as much mothers to me as my own mom, and if my mother wasn't taking us to church, we all piled in the car with my next-door neighbors.
As the daughters of the minister, you have an awful lot of parents. If you did something wrong and somebody saw you doing something wrong, before you got home, there were 10 phone calls to your mom or your dad that you were in the wrong
aunt
place.
And uncle and their kids lived next door. My grandparents lived up the street. Other aunts and uncles lived 2 blocks away. Surrounded all the time by my family.
I was going to the vineyard even before I was born. It was very much the sense of community, the sense of black families coming together. You started making and building relationships and friendships that are with me to this day.
I mean, my teachers were black, the mailman was black, the policeman was black, the storekeepers were black. So I grew up with a very strong sense of who I was as a black person and sort of expecting to carry that.
And now, you know, I don't even think mailmen know who's who and where's what, and a lot of folk don't even know who their next door neighbor is.
I often wish I could transform large cities into that small town and the people that supported me, because I know that that's what many of the children need in the city of Boston and other large urban cities.
She knew what she wanted for her kids. She knew she wanted them to be educated. She wanted them to contribute something. And she was so clear about that. Education, staying in school, being the best that you could be.
And you had the feeling that you could do just about whatever you wanted to do. There was a sense of the world belonging to you, and that you had a place in the world. There was a space for you. They were helping.
My parents always said, you can make it. You can be anything you want to be. From day one, it was you will make it, you will be somebody, you will go to school, and you'll be successful.
They saw my strengths long before I did.
She always told me that I could do whatever I wanted to do.
She had such confidence in me. She's probably the person who, more than anyone, raised me to believe that I could do anything. I used to think, if my mother thinks I can do it, of course I can do it.
I see love, I see happiness, I see generational wealth in the true sense of the word. I see the past, but I also see the future, because in the faces of all of us are the faces of our kids.
I had long hair, came to my shoulders. Oh, my mother and grandmother were very proud of all that hair. And I had it all cut off. I wore it in an afro. And talk about, oh, I got beat up. My grandmother and my mother couldn't believe. But for me, it was a symbol of who I was, a young black woman. And I could be proud about that.
And I remember going off to college, and we thought we were going to run the world. We just, you know, it was not cool to be over 30, and I just thought Angela Davis was just so bad. It was one of those times where just being young and fighting the system was great. It was empowering.
I strongly identified with Rosa Parks. The day she refused to get up, I mean, that was just like, hooray! Somebody had the nerve to stand up. I wish it had been me. I wish I had said one morning, I'm not getting up. I really wish so many times that I had done that.
Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy.
One time the police stopped me in town just because I was with some white students, and they questioned what I was doing there in that town. Lots of things like that, where I quickly learned that I was black and that a lot of people had a big problem with that.
It was a time in this country and in the world where we as African American people were being acknowledged. We were acknowledging ourselves, and I relished in that. And I took that to school with me every day, and that was like my armor. That protection existed through Malcolm X. That protection existed through the Black Panther Party. That existed through Angela Davis and the hundreds of other black people that I saw on the 6 o'clock news every night, who were angry and being vocal about being angry and saying things had to change, and I was sitting in front of the television saying, yes, yes.
We are essentially the beneficiaries of a struggle that our parents and grandparents went through in the civil rights movement. And that movement was about creating opportunity and access for all of us.
I guess what I've carried from my childhood into my adulthood would be the strong sense of obligation, of reaching back, of helping others, and particularly for me is helping African Americans and make it a little easier for some of my younger brothers and sisters. That's a strong value that guides me every single day.
We are really the sum of all of our experiences, and when we look at our reactions and our abilities today, they really are part of everything that has happened to us. I'm in a great mood. I think I'm very optimistic, despite all of the problems that we're confronted with as a community and as a society. I feel wonderful. I feel challenged, and I feel ready to take on the next challenge. It's a great time.
I'm working with people who are movers and shakers in healthcare, and we're doing some things here in Boston that I know we couldn't do in, say, another rural area or even in another city.
We are confronting similar problems. As you move up and down Warren Street or Blue Hill Avenue in Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan, you don't really find very significant differences in terms of the challenges that are being confronted by that community.
Boston is made up of villages, and those villages are very segmented and segregated from other parts, and everybody's, there are a lot of turf wars, and it's very difficult to make entree as a new person.
It just seems so obvious to me that in order for a community like Roxbury to become revitalized, for people to become economically self-sufficient, that one, they need jobs, and two, they need some support so they can keep those jobs, like childcare.
I think the 75 years of the Urban League of Eastern Massachusetts really represents advocacy, hard work, and a real commitment to attack those systems that are in place that make it difficult for all of us to exist here comfortably.
We have all a sort of sparky, fiery aggressiveness about our personalities, and a passion about the work that we do. That makes us, in some instances, a pleasure to deal with, but in others, not such a pleasure to deal with.
I'll never, ever understand the society in the terms of what we have to go through as a people, yet we all walk and breathe the same way. But I feel that if you don't speak up, you'll only get stepped on. So that's the way I've been. That's the way that I've always been. That's me. I always think there's room for growth. I always think there's room for growth. Yeah, I'm still growing. And I hope to grow and grow and grow and grow.
Looking at the issues of teenage pregnancy, the Urban League was just extraordinarily forward-thinking in seeing that the whole segment of our population, the black males, were not getting the same attention and resources directed toward them as our young female teenage population.
We were all born with the possibilities of being great, not just good people, but great. And to live with that, knowing that that's a possibility, and having forces that push people down, that's very frustrating.
We thought we had arrived when the civil rights movement ended. We somehow felt that we could take a rest 25 years ago. And I think our community and our nation is paying for that fact right now.
The Urban League is in a unique position as a unifier in this community. It's one of those few organizations that can rally us around some common agendas and common missions and common values. And for that, we're very grateful.
An entire community needs to be part of developing African American children. The Urban League sees itself as a catalyst for facilitating that change, but everyone has got to be involved, no matter what part of the community or what agency or institution they come from. The 9 women and their organizations will be part of that movement. And so in 15 years, I hope we'll look back and we'll say, you know, when that movement got launched in 1993, it was a good idea, and it worked, and we have been successful.
I can tell you that I am who I am today because of the hopes and dreams that my parents had for me, and because of the push and the encouragement that they gave me. I have the same hopes and dreams for my son, but my desire for my son stretches to children, to African American children in general.
It hurts to see young folk dying at an early age. It hurts for me to feel that so many of our youth feel the only way to settle anything is through violence. The youth of this city is our future. And I think that we just need to focus in, stay tuned in, and let them know that there are people there who care, there are people there who are willing to listen.
I want all children to be able to grow and reach their fullest potential. And that means that they need to be healthy, they need to be challenged, they need to be loved. I guess that's my one wish.
There's no time to waste. We have got to pull all of our tremendous resources and energy and expertise and knowledge together and work on behalf of our children, or we're lost as a nation and as a people.
There's no one who's expendable. No one should be written off. In fact, we don't have a pathological community. We are not pathological people. We are not a problem in America. We have problems, as all people do, but we are not a problem. And so I get angry when we are treated like America's problem.
If there's one thing that would give me a lot of satisfaction with what I do, it would be to be around long enough to see that this society really puts some money in serving the children.
The only thing that should hold us back is how we hold ourselves back. Not because of our gender or our race or our abilities or our disabilities, but that we're all given that same opportunity, that somehow life is fair.
It's just automatic that you give back to the community. The work that I do is something I'm supposed to do. I enjoy doing it. But to get recognition for that is really quite overwhelming.
I remember a scene in a Spike Lee movie at the end of School Days, and the man just sort of comes in the camera and he says, "Wake up." I really want to say wake up, because if we don't wake up and develop some human unity, then I really fear for our survival, because we've been on this earth long enough with each other to know that we really are okay as individuals, as people, as ethnic